What's up, Sterile Processing Universe? Hank Balch here in studio. And Jeff, we have made it to episode 12 in this water quality series. And I don't want to say we've made it to the end because that's going to be a theme in today's interview. There is no end. This is like when I was a kid, there was like a lamb chop song. It was like, this is the song that never ends. And in some sense, this water quality journey is a journey that never ends. So maybe let's start there and just talk about, hey, we've gone through gap analysis. We've got the multidisciplinary group together. We've identified these opportunities. We've got the the buy-in. We've done the IQ, the OQ, and the PQ, and then here we are, Jeff, uh, at the stage where we need to maintain the progress and improvements that we've made. How do we get started? What advice would you give to facilities that kind of find themselves at this stage in this journey?
Right. Well, I think the key to maintaining good water quality is you have to be consistent with the program for managing the water, and a lot of that is doing the type of preventive maintenance things you need to do to your water system and to your distribution piping, as well as to continuously be monitoring the actual chemistry and the quality of the water and reacting to changes in a productive manner. So, for instance, one of the things I think this is the biggest struggle in absorbing this standard for everybody I've talked to is it's a lot of work to do this on a regular basis, to do it correctly. And with the last document, which was TIR 34, people sort of did parts of it. I've never seen anybody do like all of it, and it would have been tough to do all of it because it was just a guideline and had a lot of, in some case, conflicting advice there. But the standard is pretty clear about what you're supposed to do, but it's a lot, and people aren't used to doing it. People aren't used to allocating the time, and it does create disruption in the department. An example is, and this is something that we struggle with all the time as we onboard new customers, is that Amy recommends that once a month you need to sanitize your loop piping that delivers all of the critical water to your department. Most departments that we've been into haven't done that on a monthly basis. They might do it once a year, they might do it quarterly. Very rarely have I seen a department that does it every month. And that requires downtime in the department. It can be 4 hours of non-productive time in the department from an equipment standpoint. And the first thing they always say is, well, you can do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. And well, you probably can. In some instances, you can't accommodate that. But the reality is that the workers that come in to do it, um, I don't think you would want to pay them enough money to get them to do that because the reality is people with those type of skills can go out and find day work all the time. So if I force them to come in at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time, it's just not going to happen. So there are equipment ways to solve that. Some creative equipment ways to solve that, like having secondary loops that have a separate distribution system so that you only take down part of the equipment, uh, so that you can at least be at 1/3 speed in the department during a period of time. But it's unrealistic to expect that you're going to be able to do that at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time. So it's just something that you have to absorb and address.
So, Jeff, you mentioned in your answer, one of the key words that stuck out was you got to be consistent in this process. And uh, it does bring me back to conversations in this series and probably in even other interviews that we've done with you that water itself ain't consistent, at least the water that's coming into the facility. And so it's a really interesting dynamic of we've got to be consistent for monitoring the progress and improvements and everything else, because the product we have that we're working with is not consistent from day to day, week to week, and month to month. Uh, is that is that well known in the space? I guess, like when you talk to users and when you talk to folks who are dealing with water, I guess on the facility side they got to know that and they're responding accordingly. But outside of that audience, how do you get that point across that, hey, this is changing, and therefore the way that you maintain it has to be flexible and fluid as well? Pardon the pun.
Right. So I think a lot of departments, whether they know it or not, have experienced some mysterious problem that suddenly appears and then a few weeks later just goes away. And we never know what it is. Good chance that's a water problem. And they can happen with some frequency and some regular frequency as seasonal changes happen with water supplies and that type of thing. But they do happen. I think um, people aren't as aware that that's what the origin of the problem is. They think it's something other than, that's in their sphere of understanding is causing the problem. Oh, it's the soap. It's the, whatever, it's the wrap. It's the, but it could also be the water. Um, so I think people on some level understand that the water quality can change, and a robust, well-designed system should be able to put some guardrails so that as water changes, it still can kind of force it between the guardrails. There does come a time when that is not possible. And that's when your monitoring that you're doing on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis is really important because if your system can't knock that back into play, you need to know right away.
Right. Well, Jeff, as I alluded to in the intro to this, this is the last part of this 12-part series that we're doing with you on the water quality topic at Beyond Clean. And um, even though we've been talking about a lot of the work, upfront work of implementing ST91, not 91, ST108, and all the work that's involved with that, I gotta think that there are departments out there that are ahead of the curve, that are trying to push this, and definitely by the time this video hits the public, there's going to be teams out there that have some really strong success stories. You're not going to be done, right? Because there's no arriving to this, just like we just talked about. But I would love, as one of the takeaways out of this series, to hear from those teams that feel like they have learned these lessons, and maybe they've even implemented the lessons that we've been talking about over the last couple of months, and they've seen those successes. We'd love to hear that on the Beyond Clean side of things. Jeff, I know that you would as well, because it's one thing, again, talk theory, talk education. Obviously, you're talking from experience. You've seen these things work out, but it's also great to hear from the clinical side and say, yeah, these things can actually work. You can see the impact. You can get this collaboration. You can implement these kinds of guidelines and updates. It's possible. And man, that's just so encouraging to everyone else out there that's sitting around thinking like, this is too big. It's too complicated. I'm just going to try to, hide in a corner and hope no one ever asks me about it. That's not the way forward.
Yeah,
Right.
I have, as we're talking now, I did have a potential customer who we've been talking with called me up after I had given them a proposal with some questions and said, "Oh, by the way, this morning the Joint Commission walked into our facility, and the first question they asked is, 'What are you doing about SD-108?'"
Wow.
So it's out
Wow.
there.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, you heard it here first. And Jeff, I want to thank you again for your time, your commitment to helping us solve this water issue. This is not just a water issue, it's a patient safety issue. That's the primary connection in all this. That's why we're making this a big focus of education through Beyond Clean over the last couple of years, and we're going to continue pushing that. So really appreciate your time. That was Jeff Paquet. This is the Water Quality Expert Series on Beyond Clean. And if you got more questions, reach out to Jeff. He ain't going anywhere. You can track him down through LinkedIn. You can check out the corporate webpage on LinkedIn as well as on the internet. Just go out there and track it down. Jeff, what's the URL for your VERDA, like your VERDA website?
Yeah, it's www.verdawater.com.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it there and remind you, like we do each and every week at Beyond Clean. Until we talk to you again next time, keep fighting dirty.